Hi there, sixth graders. This is World History, Chapter 13, Lesson 1. We go to the continent of Africa, and this is about the geography of Africa. We take a look at the yellow bar to preview. People throughout Africa have adapted to a variety of environments. Let's run through the places and vocabulary, the names here. Sahara, Atlas Mountains, Great Rift Valley, Mount Kilimanjaro, Savannah, Bantu. You are there. You're walking through the desert. One foot sinks into the sand and then the other. A lizard pops its head out of one of the footprints you made in the sand, and it dives back in to hide from the sun. You adjust your hat to make sure your head is covered from the scorching sun. Beads of sweat pour down your back. Your clothes are soaked. You look like you've been swimming in a river. How much longer will it be to the next oasis where you can get a cool drink of water? You feel like you've been walking for days. A few people dressed in blue garments pass you. The men are wearing veils to protect their faces from the blowing sand. All of a sudden, the wind becomes stronger and the sky turns gray. A sandstorm is coming. Taking a look on the map at the next page, there's our continent of Africa. And you can see the Sahara Desert covers almost the top 1/3, almost 1/2 of the continent itself. To the south of the Sahara, the Savannah, you can see it's a green area. And then they show pictures of different places that we would see traveling to Africa. Climate zones. I'm on page 371. I don't know if I mentioned that at the beginning. Climate zones. The desert that you just read about is in Africa, the second largest continent on Earth after Asia. There are 8 climate zones in Africa. The main zones include desert, savanna, rainforest, and Mediterranean. The desert climate zone, of course, is hot and dry. Little vegetation and few animals live in the desert. The Sahara is the largest desert in the world. It is located in northern Africa. Look at the map below to see the vast area it covers. Notice that the Atlas Mountains separate the Sahara from the Mediterranean Sea. Winds and sandstorms shape the sand dunes that cover about 25% of the Sahara. South of the Sahara lies the savanna, or short grassy plains. About half of Africa is savanna. The soil in the savanna is generally fertile. In areas of the savanna that are drier, people herd cattle. Tropical rainforest biomes cover a very small area of the continent. Thick vegetation makes farming nearly impossible in this climate region. The Mediterranean climate on the North African coast and southern tip of Africa is mild. Summers are mostly hot, while winters are generally mild and rainy. Land is fertile in some of these areas, making them suitable for agriculture. Mountains and rivers. The climate of Africa affects the movement of people and goods. As you have read, camel caravans crossed the Sahara in northern Africa. These journeys were dangerous. Traders in the caravans faced sandstorms, high heat, and few water sources. In other parts of Africa, people faced barriers such as mountains, plateaus, and cataracts. Do you remember how people crossed cataracts in ancient Egypt and Nubia? I'm trying to find my answer here off to the side. Camel caravans, rivers, seas, and oceans. I think that might be the next review question there. In prehistoric times, a rift or a crack may have formed in the earth, creating a 4,000-mile-long Great Rift Valley in East Africa. This fertile valley stretches across lakes, highlands, and other small valleys. You can even see it from space. On one of these highlands is Mount Kilimanjaro. At 19,340 feet, it is the highest mountain in Africa. Plateaus cover much of the interior of Africa. Many rivers flow from the plateaus to the coast. The Zambezi, Congo, and Niger are the major interior rivers in Africa. You've already read about the longest river in Africa and the world, the Nile. Many people used these rivers to move trade goods from place to place. The Red Sea and the Indian Ocean served as ways to transport goods and people to the Middle East. Spread of peoples. Over time, changes in climate caused people to migrate to other areas of Africa. For example, in ancient times, the Sahara was very different from the way it is today. It contained rivers, grassy plains, and forests. We know this because of prehistoric cave paintings and dried up riverbeds. Many scientists believe that by about 2500 BC, the climate began to change. Rain did not fall anymore, and the land dried out. As the environment changed and resources were used up, people moved to the east and to the south. One group of people is considered to be the ancestor of many different African groups today. It is estimated that between about 100 BC and AD 1500, people living in West Africa began to slowly spread to other parts of Africa. Linguists, or people who study languages, have traced this movement of West Africans by looking at the languages spoken in Africa. The Bantu languages are a group of languages spoken in large parts of Africa. Many of the words of these languages are similar. As the Bantu speakers traveled south, their languages spread with them. So in this section, we learned about the Sahara Desert, how it dried up, is very different today than what it used to be. We also learned about people, how they spread and moved throughout Africa, especially the Bantu people. We know that they were the origin of a lot of the people in Africa because linguists have found that these people share this common language. Thanks for listening.